Hello everyone. Today I want to read to you a story about a backyard. It's an old story, but a good one, called The Curious Little Kitten. Once upon a time, there was a curious little kitten. She lived in a nice sunny yard behind a nice cozy house. The little kitten's yard was surrounded by fences. There was a high wooden fence on one side, a low wooden fence on the other side, and in the back there was a red brick wall. That does look like a cozy, sunny backyard. At first, the curious little kitten was only curious about the things that were inside her yard. She was curious about flowers and the birds and the garden hose. She was curious about the clothesline and the wheelbarrow and the rose bushes. Sometimes it was fun being so curious, and sometimes it was very uncomfortable. Oh no, I think she got stuck in that rose bush. By and by, the little kitten became curious about the things that were outside of her yard. She began to wonder what was on the other side of those fences. One day, she peeked through a hole in the high wooden fence. She could see another yard just like hers, but in that yard, there was a small house. Who do you think that small house might belong to? I think the curious little kitten is about to find out. The curious little kitten just had to find out what was inside that small house. In no time at all, she scuttled and wiggled right through that hole and scurried across the grass and went up to the doorway of the small house. She looked into the house. Something brown and furry was sleeping inside. What could it be? The curious little kitten crept closer and closer until... What do you think is going to happen? Woof, 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 woof. The brown furry thing woke up. Oh, was it big? Oh, was it loud? The little kitten could not get out of that yard fast enough. She ran back to her own yard and hid behind the wheelbarrow. She was very frightened and very certain she would never, never be curious again. Do you think that's true? I hope not, because being curious is wonderful, even if it is a little scary sometimes. But the very next day, the little kitten found a hole in the low wooden fence. She looked through it. She could see another yard just like hers. But in that yard, there was a small round pond. A small round pond. The curious little kitten just had to find out what was in that pond. There's the picture. In no time at all, the little kitten wiggled through the hole, scampered across the grass, and went right up to the edge of the pond. She peered in. Something bright orange and wiggly was down there under the water. What could it be? The curious little kitten leaned over the fence or the pond, farther and farther, closer and closer until... Oh! Splash! She tumbled in. Oh, was it cold? Oh, was it wet? She could not get out of that pond fast enough. She could not get out of that yard fast enough. The little kitten went back to her own yard and found a sunny, dry place to rest. Here in her own yard was where she would stay. Here it was safe. Being curious could only get a little kitten into trouble. She would never, never be curious again. Well, what do you think? Think that's true? Let's find out. But the very next day, when she was looking for something to do, the curious kitten hopped up to the top of the red brick wall. She only wanted to take a peek. And there was still another yard, just like hers. What was in that yard? She had to find out. In no time at all, the curious little kitten hopped off of the wall and landed right in front of another little kitten. Oh, was she surprised? Oh, was she happy? The curious little kitten could not make friends with that new little kitten fast enough. Sometimes being curious was all right. Sometimes being curious helped a little kitten to find a nice new friend. The end. And don't you love that book? I love that the kitten is so curious. I love that she goes exploring, but she knows when she's had enough and then she goes back home to rest. What a nice thing that there was a friend waiting for her at the end of that story. What's your backyard like? Do you have a fence on 3 sides or a low red brick wall? Can you see into the fences of your neighbors? Into the yards of your neighbors over the fences? Maybe you have woods in your backyard. Or maybe you can see a lake. Or maybe there's even a curious little kitten or two that you can see in your backyard. I have a curious little kitten right here. Hey, kitty, kitty, kitty. Come on, kitty, kitty, kitty. This is Andy. He's a curious little kitten and he wanted to say hello to you. Hi, Andy. Oh, and another. Have a happy day, my friends. Have fun in your backyards playing and being curious.